The Phillies roll over the Giants. The Mariners take down the Reds in extras, and the Marlins walk 9 Diamondbacks in their loss. We're going to break down all of the action on MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into MLB Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we cover your teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsey Crosby. Follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball, the host of the Braves Postcast, joined by my friend Steve Lennox at Lennox on Baseball and social media, host of the Locked On Red Sox Postcast. And Steve, awesome night of baseball. Where do you want to get started?
Let's get started, Lindsey. Phillies home against the Giants, and Christopher Sanchez make a change. We know he's got one of the best changeups in baseball, but he certainly had that on display in the finale against the Giants at Citizens Bank on Thursday.
The Philadelphia Phillies end up splitting their series with the San Francisco Giants. I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. A 6-4 final today. Now let's talk about this game first, because Christopher Sanchez was outstanding on the mound. His changeup is unbelievable. He had 12 strikeouts. That's a career high for him. I know he ended up giving up 3 runs, but man, he was dominant out there on the bump. And that's what the Phils needed, because they jumped on the Giants a little bit early, and then you needed that shutdown inning to counter. And that's not something they got in this series. Well, they got it today. They got an insurance run from Edmundo Sosa. That was really nice to see. Now, what's worrying is Nick Castellanos left this game with an injury. I'm not looking forward to a Johan Rojas, Brandon Marsh tandem in the outfield, so the hope is Casti is okay. But for all the ups and downs of this series against the Giants, the Phils come out even. They move on to a series with the Marlins. We'll talk about all of it on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Phillies.
Thanks, Connor. And that changeup, 22 whiffs. There are pitchers who haven't gotten that many whiffs on their changeup in the entire season. And Sanchez does it in one outing in 7 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned. Is Phillies rotation the best rotation in baseball?
It's right up there. And I said it last year. Sanchez has the luxury of being behind, that third, fourth guy in a rotation that features Nola, who, okay, let's get on track, Aaron Nola, but Zach Wheeler's still at the front end as well, and he pitches on Friday against the Marlins. But Sanchez just goes out there and he gives you solid outings more often than not. And again, he doesn't have to pitch as the ace, but he shows you, and he showed us on Thursday, what he's capable of on any given outing. And the 12 strikeouts, a new career high, 14 strikeouts total against the Giants.
Yeah, and in this one, I think the guy who really came through for them, Alec Boehm, batting from the bottom of the lineup. He's been quiet recently, 1 for 3, hits a triple in the first inning, clears the bases. Just big first inning. The thing for me was Philly did this without any home runs. And Philly did this with only 1 extra base hit. When you think of the Philadelphia Phillies, you think about ball go boom, crushing lots of homers. That's not what they did in this game. It feels to me like it's a little bit of growth for Philly. And then to Connor's point, you have to hope that Nick Castellanos is not significantly injured and can make it back soon, because you do have defensive questions. I'm sorry, you do have offensive questions for your outfield if you lose Nick Castellanos.
And I was right there with you, Lindsey, looking at that box score. How many home runs did they hit in that 5-run first inning?
Nothing.
None. Okay, great. Schwarber comes through with a 2-run single. He can put the ball in play with the bases loaded and not just hit the ball out of the yard. But Castellanos, left hip flexor tightness, that's not a fun injury.
No.
Is it going to be 2 weeks? Is it going to be 7 days? I'm sure they'll back him off a little bit, and he's going to determine when he can return. But they're going to have him as close to 100% as possible. That's not something you want to still be talking about in May.
Yeah, and they stuck Edmundo Sosa into this game for left field, an infielder by trade. His first start in the outfield was last week against Atlanta. He robbed a home run in the first inning. He's not bad out there. But to Connor's point, you've got defensive questions if 3 of your 4 outfielders available after Max Kepler are Sosa, Rojas, and Marsh. So let's see what they do. Let's see what happens with him and what they kind of rule there. I do want to give you the other side. Here's Ben Kaspik's take on what happened in this one.
Outside of Logan Webb, the Giants starting pitching is just making too much of a habit of allowing early runs that put the Giants in a hole. This is Ben Kaspik with the Locked On Giants podcast. Giants jumped out to a 1-0 lead against a Cy Young contender in Christopher Sanchez, and Jordan Hicks goes out there and gives up 5 runs in the bottom of the first. And ultimately, that's the game. Giants ended up scoring 4 total runs in the game, and so you could have called it right there after 1. So, I don't know. On the season, obviously, the Giants have had a really good start. They're 13-6. But if you look at the starting rotation, outside of Logan Webb, like I said, I also really like Landon Roop. His ERA is a little bit bloated compared to some of the underlying numbers. But Jordan Hicks, Robbie Ray, Justin Verlander, it's just not really been easy sledding for any of those 3. And meanwhile, you've got a guy like Hayden Birdsong looking really, really good in the bullpen, but not being given an opportunity. So Hicks, to his credit, he ended up settling down and going 7 and not allowing any more runs. So that was amazing. But the first inning cost them, and that was that. So we'll break this down tomorrow on Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
And Steve, the fact that he was able to go 7, are you worried about Hicks at the end of the day? Or is this something where, hey, a bad outing happens, a bad inning happens, but you can rebound?
Yeah, and I think he will. And Ben, credit to him for, bringing that up of that, 5-run first inning looking bad, and it's looking like you're going to be in your bullpen early and you're wrapping up a series. So that could have, if you're in your bullpen before the 5th inning on Thursday in a finale in Philadelphia, that's going to create problems for the next couple of games in your next series. He goes 7. They came back a little bit, fell short. They might be coming back to earth just a little bit, but I still think they have enough to compete. And he mentioned Birdsong. I think, it's going to be interesting to see. I haven't looked at his day-by-days and the innings out of the bullpen, but he's a guy they can stretch out, and he's certainly a guy that they could put in the bullpen if there's a want.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the Giants are on the right track under this new management that they have, right? Bringing in a franchise legend to run everything. A team that has surprisingly been on a good streak this year, has been on the right track. Seattle Mariners. They go into Cincinnati, take the game 11-7 in 10 innings. Here's our own tight end Gonzalez with some of his thoughts on how that game went today.
Hey, no quit whatsoever. This is Tight End Gonzalez, host of the Locked On Mariners podcast here. What a freaking game. Pitching was a bit of an issue for the Mariners in this one. And it actually wasn't Emerson Hancock to blame. He was pretty solid in this game. I got to give him props. The problem was the bullpen. They issued 6 walks to Reds hitters after taking over for Hancock, and it looked like they had given this game away when Edward Bizzardo surrendered a go-ahead grand slam to former Mariner Jake Fraley. But the Mariners, down to their final 3 outs, punched right back. Cal Raleigh with his 8th home run of the season, his 3rd home run of the series, his 2nd straight series with 3 home runs. He ties Tyler Soderstrom for the major league lead in homers. And then Randy Arozarena, right after him, hits a game-tying home run to force things to the bottom of the 9th, where Casey Legumina gets his revenge on his former ball club, forces things to extra innings, where Randy Arozarena is the hero once again, adds a couple of important insurance runs to pad the Mariners' lead, and they walk out of here with an 11-7 win over the Cincinnati Reds for their 3rd series win in a row, feeling really good about themselves, heading up north of the border to face the Blue Jays. We're about to record and talk about this one on the Locked On Mariners post-game show. Be sure to join us. Catch you then. Peace.
This box score was wild. 23 hits, 18 runs. Both teams used almost the entire bench, but the Mariners were clutch when it mattered.
Hey, we just talked about the bullpen with the Giants, right? Each team using 7 relievers. If I'm the Blue Jays right now, I'm saying, hey, welcome in Seattle Mariners. We're going to have at it. We're going to try to get our offense going here. Seattle, 11 runs, and yet 3 for 18. 3 for 18 with runners in scoring position. Again, we scour the box scores, go over these games, watch as much as we can, listen as much as we can. But 3 for 18? But how about Cal Raleigh? Ty mentioned the numbers, and Raleigh now 6 home runs in his last 6 games. Hey, 2 catchers in the AL West right now, Athletics and Mariners. Are those your 2 catchers for the AL All-Star team in July? I think maybe.
Yeah, and we'll get to Tyler Soderstrom in the second segment because he had something to say about being tied for the home run lead. Before we go into a break real quick, I want you to hear from Jeff Carr, host of Locked On Reds, and some of his reaction, and thought it was interesting about what he thought about this game.
I needed some time to process what happened on Thursday for the Redlegs because that game was an emotional roller coaster. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and the Cincinnati Reds did everything they could to lose the game on Thursday and then still had a chance to win it in the ninth. I mean, they were up in the ninth, and Emilio Pagan gave up back-to-back home runs. The Mariners forced extra innings and then went crazy in the top of the 10th because of defensive miscues. This was a horribly played game by Elly De La Cruz. It was a horrible game for him. I mean, he had 2 hits, but with the glove, he was awful. And he came to the plate with the bases loaded, and he struck out looking. Very frustrating day for him. But ultimately, just one of those games where everything went wrong, even though the Reds had a chance to win. There cannot be too many more like that. We're going to discuss why on the next Locked On Reds.
A little frustrated there, you think, Steve?
Yeah, and we all have to remember we're just 3 weeks plus into the regular season right now. You know, and there are a lot of fan bases right now. I mean, Jeff, Reds, the Oriole fans are ready to, all of a sudden they're on track a little bit, and we'll touch on them later. But again, Elly De La Cruz, I don't think you can continue with him long term as the shortstop. 4 errors total. Jeff mentioned he had 2. And probably young enough as a guy still, taking his at-bats to the field and taking what he's not doing in the field to his at-bats, and can't happen. There's got to be some growth there.
Yeah. We'll see what they do and if they can rebound in this next series. In just a second, I want to get to that Diamondbacks and Marlins game because the Marlins did everything they could to give this one away, and they finally did. We'll do that after the break. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends with the Amazon Fire TV. So, did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with a Fire TV Stick 4K device. No consoles required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. EA Play is included, and you're ready to play. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles. EA Sports College Football 25, to Call of Duty Black Ops 6, to Avowed, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and a compatible controller are required. It's available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube, third generation.
And MLB Game Night also presented by Game Time. There's nothing better than catching a Major League Baseball game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of the ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets, plus ticket prices drop as game time gets closer, meaning you can save and score on incredible deals. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On. You are going to love the Game Time Picks feature. This feature allows you to find the best deals effortlessly. It filters out all the fluff and highlights the top discounts in the ballpark. With the seat view before you buy, you will love how you can preview your exact seat before purchasing. No bad surprises when you get to the ballpark. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download your Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you will get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create your account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Okay, Steve. So this Diamondbacks Marlins game, Diamondbacks take down the Marlins 6-4, but Miami really just gave this game away. When you look at how this goes down, Miami walks they have 16 strikeouts, but they walk 9 batters. And the Diamondbacks also really weren't trying to win this game. They drew 9 walks. They had 13 hits. They scored 4 runs, 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. I don't know if this was a worse showing from the Marlins or from the Diamondbacks.
Eduardo Rodriguez, 5 1/3, 10 hits, gives up just the 3 runs, 1 earned, didn't walk anyone, which certainly to his benefit, strikes out 9. The D-backs, Lindsay, Thursday did not look like a team that's now won 5 straight games, but they complete the series sweep against the Marlins. And the Marlins are just, you think you're going to go into a series against the Marlins and you're going to cruise. And all of a sudden, either you drop 2 out of 3 or you're just in a battle and they're walking games off. That was a lot of what they were in 2024, especially at home with a lot of walk-off wins. But this Marlins team, growing pains, at some point, those growing pains, again, you have to have the growth spurt. 2 for 18. Again, runners in scoring position. 2 for 18. That's almost impossible to do, it feels like. It really does.
These teams combined were 4 for 29 with runners in scoring position.
And both sides striking out 16 times. I'm glad there weren't a lot of people in Miami to watch this game because this, put the ball and play, good things happen. I've said it a million times. I'm actually trying to wean myself off saying that. But come on, this was not an exciting game in any way, shape, or form. And you move on. Let's say Corbin Carroll, RBI base in the 4th inning. He's got a 10-game hit streak. I'm going to end my side of this on a positive.
There you go. Going from the positive to the negative, let's hear from Jeremiah Geiger of Locked On Marlins, his thoughts about how Edward Cabrera did and the outlook going forward after this game.
Are we ever going to admit that Edward Cabrera is not a major league starter? What's up, guys? It's Jeremiah Geiger from Locked On Marlins. And the Marlins get swept by the Arizona Diamondbacks. They drop the final game of the series. Edward Cabrera, it took him 88 pitches to get through 4 innings. He walked 3 batters. He gave up 5 runs. And yes, the strikeout stuff was there as he struck out 6. But enough's enough. The experiment has to end. And offensively for the Marlins, 2 for 18 with runners in scoring position. That's not going to get it done. They had 13 hits, but they struck out 16 times, couldn't get the timely hit, and they lose the ball game. They are now 2 games under 500 with this sweep from the Diamondbacks. They played a good team, and they couldn't get 1 win. Tomorrow, they go on to Philly, try to get back in the win column. It was a rough series to watch.
And then going from that to the exact opposite type of game, the Pirates beat the Nationals 1-0. A grand total of 6 walks in this game, only 14 strikeouts, 10 total hits, just a pitching duel. And believe it or not, Steve, the winning runs come on the very first batter of the game. Oneil Cruz hits a leadoff home run for the Pirates in the 1st inning. Nobody else scores the entire rest of the game.
I love the 1-0 game as we continue to do MLB Game Night on Locked On. Lindsay, anytime I see a Pirates final score, I'm going to think of Gary. It's already ingrained in me.
From Washington at PNC Park, winning by the score of 1-0 today. Hi, I'm Gary from Locked On Pirates.
Be happier, Gary.
And Oneil Cruz led off the game with a home run. It was his 2nd consecutive home run. Grand slam was the last one. Solo shot today. And it's the game winner. Andrew Heaney made it last. Went 7 1/3 and really shoved. He was unhittable. There was nobody really got much wood on him at all. He put it in the outfield. That said, Pirates offense is still just performing putrid. Brian Reynolds, chief among them, just finally came off of the DH only designation and played the field for the first time. Looked fine out there. Unfortunately, the bat didn't warm up. Really struggled today. It didn't look like he was close to anything. They had a couple situations where they could have scored runs throughout the game, but man, You just got to lean on the pitching sometimes, and that's exactly how they took this one the rest of the way. That's what we're going to be talking about on Locked On Pirates next morning.
Good for you, Lindsay. Thank you, Gary. Celebrate it, please.
Just have the enthusiasm, Gary. He did smile in there. I'll give him that. I love Gary. It feels like it's going to have to be the pitching, right? If you look at this veteran-laden outfield, O'Neal Cruz gets the home run. Brian Reynolds 0 for 2, 2 walks. Tommy Pham 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts. I don't see the offense to get out of last place. And the pitching is going to have to carry them. It did today, but that's even with Paul Skeens in your rotation, that's not sustainable.
Yeah, there's just going to be too many low-scoring games for the Pirates, and you're playing the Nationals. This is an interesting series. They allow 7 runs total over the 4 games. You can do that against the Nationals when you're facing, and that's a young lineup. I'm not trying to disparage the Nationals. They'll be better second half of the year, but you're asking an awful lot from your pitching staff right now when you're only scoring a couple of runs every single game. And, Lindsay, I just want to bring this one up. I read the Pirates.com story on this game recap, and there was one headline that said, "I'm just proud of myself." Heaney, on the day where he goes out and throws 7 1/3 scoreless, also reaches 10 years of service time in Major League Baseball. That is a huge number. And they actually celebrated it before he went out there and had a great performance against the Nationals.
Love hearing a dude hitting a milestone like that. It just unlocks so much for you in MLB.
Yep.
After the break, I want to talk about this home run chase because we had a couple guys put up home runs today. Some of them their first home runs of the season. Some of them to retake the lead. We'll do that next right here on MLB Game Night. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay, Steve, we saw a bunch of home runs hit today, and I think the Oakland Athletics here, they win 8-0 over the White Sox. They got the sweep. They hit 4 homers, but Tyler Soderstrom with his 9th home run of the season to take the lead. Here's our guy Booney with his thoughts on how this one went.
Together their best game of the early 2025 season as they swept the White Sox in Chicago. This is Booney from Locked On A's, and it was often in early for the A's as back-to-back doubles by Lawrence Butler and Jacob Wilson on the first 2 pitches of the game gave the A's a quick 1-0 lead. It remained 1-0 until the 5th, and that's when the Law Dog, Lawrence Butler, hit a solo bomb, and the floodgates seemed to open. J.J. Bleday with a 2-run bomb in the 6th, a solo bomb by Tyler Soderstrom in the 7th, his major league leading 9th, and Brett Rooker got in on the action with a bomb in the 9th. It was J.P. Sears on the mound, going 6 shutout innings, allowing only 3 hits. A's complete the sweep with an 8-0 win over the White Sox. The true test is this weekend as the A's travel to Milwaukee to face a very, very good Brewer team.
Talk about teams with young lineups. A's versus Brewers, that's going to be entertaining.
Yes, and the A's lineup, a young lineup, faced an even younger lineup outside of Luis Robert and a couple of other guys. But, Soderstrom had 9 home runs, 26 RBIs last year in 61 games. 9th home run of the season, as we heard from Booney, and he's got 18 RBIs early on in this season. I looked him up, and I found it interesting that he was drafted out of the high school ranks in 2020. So that's the COVID year. He went 26th overall. If he has a normal high school season, that guy, Soderstrom, was probably a top 15 pick.
it's talent evaluation in that year was just all skewed, and you had to go off of like your prior research. You couldn't get the late blooming guys. And so a lot of teams, like one team maybe heard about a guy and they were on a guy, grabbed him a little bit later in the draft, in that 5-round draft, and it worked out. A big thing that I'd noticed again today, Brent Rooker in the field, playing left field instead of DHing. So feels like they're trying to make room to get Nick Kurtz up and have Soderstrom and Kurtz combine for first base and DH, with Langeliers behind the plate, Rooker in left, Lawrence Butler in right. It's pretty powerful lineup there, pretty powerful core of your lineup. So we'll see what happens with those guys. Yankees take down the Rays 6-3. Really just, it's always it's jarring to me to watch these games played on a minor league field. I still kind of struggle with that. Will Warren left after an inning in 2/3, bases loaded in the second inning, 53 pitches.
Yankees beat the Rays first of 4 down in Tampa. Final score on Thursday night, 6-3. Couple of heroes tonight. We'll start with Ben Rice, a career high 4 hits, drove in 2 runs. Meanwhile, Oswaldo Cabrera also hit a solo shot for the Bombers in the win. Meanwhile, the bullpen collectively was excellent. Will Warren lasted just an inning and 2/3 through 38 pitches in the second inning alone. Aaron Boone yanked him. But the combination of Yarborough, Hill, Hamilton, and Williams get the job done. And again, the Yankees win at 6-3. They're now 12-7, and they are 4-3 overall, sitting atop the American League East. As we said, Will Warren, no good. Ben Rice, very good. Devin Williams, another 1-2-3 ninth to earn the save. Yanks win it 6-3.
Thanks, Jay.
Wasn't it less than a week ago that Yankee fans wanted to trade Devin Williams back to the Milwaukee Brewers, or at least, send him packing out of the Bronx? These guys have no leeway whatsoever. You join a new team, you need to produce like you did last year and on the back of your baseball card immediately. You can't have a blip. But it's good to see that again, that bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
How do they go into the weekend? How do they fare this weekend against the Rays down at Steinbrenner Field? You mentioned, minor league ballparks for the Athletics, for the Rays. Watching the Rays and Red Sox previous 3 nights, it's a hard listen. It really is. And Will Fleming on the radio side for the Red Sox, fly balls, he thought were leaving, and they were talking about, in pregame and batting practice, balls were jumping out of the ballpark. Well, when you don't have that third tier on the ballpark, the third deck, all of a sudden that wind dies out. Balls weren't carrying the way they were in BP last night, and there were a couple of balls where you're thinking that ball's going to leave the yard. No, it died on the warning track. But it's Sacramento. All the credit in the world to Sacramento. That's going to be, 3 years. Hopefully the Rays are just, this is 1 year and you endure it. But it's just different. It's just the entire sound, the ambiance, everything is just different.
Yeah. Talking about hitting home runs and things like that, like we did a few minutes ago with Soderstrom. Mark Vientos gets his first homer of the year in a 4-1 Mets victory. Here's Ryan Finkelstein from Locked On Mets to kind of break down how that game went for them.
The New York Mets' first losing streak of the season is over at just 2 games as they greet their home fans to a 4-1 victory on Thursday night. This is Ryan Finkelstein, the host of Locked On Mets, and Thursday was just a great team win all around. There was a lot of guys that had been struggling that came through. Mark Vientos hits his first home run of the season. Brett Beatty, his second consecutive multi-hit game, also second game in a row where he picked up an RBI. And Francisco Lindor got 3 hits, picked up 2 RBIs. He has that OPS right near 700. But the real savior of the game for the Mets was Griffin Canning, because the Mets bullpen was exhausted after a bullpen game essentially on Sunday and just a lot of work on the road trip in general. And Canning came through with 6 strong innings of work, struck out 8, allowed just 1 run, allowing the Mets to cruise to the victory. I'll be talking about the game and setting up this weekend on tomorrow's edition of Locked On Mets.
Griffin Canning went from being sick and missing time to dominating 6 innings, 1 run on 3 hits. Is it time to put the Mets in the conversation of pitching factories where they can just fix guys?
I'm glad you brought that up because Canning during the offseason as he signs with the Mets, it's like, okay, that was part of the theme and almost the lead for the story of can Jeremy Hefner and the Mets philosophy on pitching bring this guy forward. So far, so good. Again, dealing with the illness, pushed back a couple of days, but gave them exactly what they needed in the series opener. And he got early run support. Great to see Vientos going. This guy with 27 home runs last year. Pressing perhaps early on, but a guy, like all of a sudden, Met fan doom and gloom of, not only do we have to get rid of Soto, and that was a bad signing, but Vientos is not the answer at third base. Come on, you've got, again, I think we're getting to the point now as we're heading late April. We're going to hit Easter weekend here, Lindsay. Guys who can hit are going to start hitting here. We're going to start seeing it. It's going to be a theme of like all of a sudden these guys are red hot, but remember the bad starts they got off to, and you could add Vientos to a very long list.
Yeah. Talking about guys, not necessarily bad starts for guys, I guess, but injury delayed start. Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles gets his first home run in the 6-2 victory for Baltimore. They really tagged Tanner Bibby. 6 runs on 5 hits, 4 walks in 5 2/3. Is this the start of the Orioles fixing their issues and going from the bottom of the AL East and starting to make a run like we all thought they would?
Mike Elias had to talk to the media in the dugout at Camden Yards earlier in the series. Bibby right now, 3 home runs allowed in this outing against the Orioles. He'd given up 4 in an earlier start back on April 5th against the Angels. But there were 2 things I had to double check 5 times to make sure I had it right. 1, Gunnar Henderson, first home run of the season. This guy hit 10 home runs March, April last year on his way to a huge season. 36 home runs now away from matching his total from last year. And I also had to look. The Orioles have won back-to-back games for the first time this season. That's also confirmed. I don't know where I missed on that one.
Yeah, it's. I know Gunnar was hurt to start the year, but it felt like they were struggling a lot more than I think we all expected them to. A team that has not been struggling this year. Tigers over the Royals 6-1. Tigers are 11-8. They're in first place in the AL Central. Meanwhile, the Royals the offense has been anemic. Everybody not named Bobby Witt Jr. is, or I guess Michael Garcia is batting 270. Bobby Witt's batting 307. Everybody else is like 207 or worse. And on the flip side, Reese Olson for Detroit, 5 shutout innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Spencer Torkelson has a good night at the plate, drives in 3. Just an easy kind of win for the Tigers. Can they repeat the playoff push from last year? Because we all kind of thought end of the year that was kind of smoke and mirrors and bullpen games and it wasn't sustainable. Can they do it this year?
I think the last time or last weekend when we were together, Lindsay, we're talking about their starting pitching. The hitting's coming around. You mentioned Torkelson, Carpenter, Riley Green, 3 hits apiece. Riley Green had an RBI single in the 3rd. He had an RBI single again in the 5th inning. I enjoyed watching the Tigers second half of the season after the All-Star break last year. They had a series at home against the Red Sox where they just kind of took it to them. You're like, okay, we're thinking Twins and Red Sox 2024. They're going to battle it out for that 3rd wild card. And all of a sudden, slowly but surely, slowly and steady wins the race. All of a sudden, the Tigers caught up and then said, see you guys later.
Yep.
I would love to see it because Jeff Passan on the Pirates this week, and shame on them. And that's a great ballpark. Detroit, and that ballpark filled up. That's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Final game of the night, Rangers and Angels. And Rangers 5-3 victory here. They're now first place in the West, 12-7 after that tough start they had last year. But the story to me is, well, I guess 1, Jock Peterson's been awful. He goes 0 for 4 in this one. He's batting .060 right now. But Kumar Rocker, who has struggled so severely entering this year, 7 innings, 3 runs on 5 hits, no walks, 8 strikeouts, and just looks dominant at times. Are there signs of life? I know I've been saying the offense wasn't good. Is there signs of life here with the Rangers? Can they maintain this when you have Marcus Semien batting 134 and Jock Peterson batting .060?
You brought up Marcus Semien. Wow, those numbers. I was not expecting that when I saw a slash line. 1 for 4. Again, another hitter who's got to get going. Wyatt Langford, Jack Leiter could be back in the coming days for the Tigers.
Wyatt Langford homered in his first at-bat of his rehab appearance today.
Okay, there you go. So he's probably over the weekend at some point in time. But Kumar Rocker, you gave the line. No walks, the 8 strikeouts, 7 innings, 78-58. 78 pitches over those innings. 58 strikes. This guy, again, I don't want to say tease, but man, he has got a world of talent. A world of talent. He's still young, all of that. Is he starting to put it together? You want to see 3 out of every 4 starts going forward for Kumar Rocker. Is it going to be 7? 7 3-earned runs. You can live with that. That's what we're calling a quality start. That is a terrific start. Yeah. The Rangers will take it.
Flip side of this, we talked about Marcus Semien batting 134. It's a 397 OPS. He has 2 extra base hits in 18 games and 67 at-bats. And he's also signed for a half decade still?
There's a lot remaining.
It is a little bit nerve-wracking. Let's hope it's a better night tomorrow for Marcus Semien and Jock Peterson. We'll see how that goes. They start a new series on Friday. This has been MLB Game Night for Thursday, April 17th. Do us a favor. If you're listening on audio on the Locked On MLB feed, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, whatever Google uses nowadays. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when MLB Game Night comes your way at the conclusion of tomorrow night's games. And until next time, this has been MLB Game Night.